Well, back again. Penn State survives Temple.
Good way to put it.
I say survive not in that the score was close. It was. I don't think it was as close as the score, but the injuries. Over half the defense was hurt at one point, and of course, Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, for a while there, he went out on his first carry, and I was looking at them looking at him, and they were looking at his left leg. He had, I think he had a sprained ankle last year. He only made 6 starts, and they're getting into the meat of their Big Ten season, and if they don't have him, you know, it's not looking good. He was able to come back and play. I thought that was great news, but it really looks now, Pat, like they're going to go into Big Ten play, and they're going to be without. They could be without all 3 starting linebackers for the Michigan game, and they're going to be without Naeem White for the rest of the year. And you know that was, you know, they weren't that deep at the linebacker position to begin with, and those were 3 of their best defensive players. So, you know, Brandon Smith played well against Temple, but that was Temple. And I think moving forward, I think they're really going to be challenged on defense because of the injuries.
And it couldn't come at a worse time. This week, you get Jim Harbaugh and the fighting khaki pants and all that recruiting, all that depth, both sides of the ball. Hard to think they've got a chance, but I guess I was encouraged that they could play well without Barkley and that the defense did play relatively well with backups in there. So at least gives you a glimmer of hope that they can show up against Michigan.
I mean, it is what it is. Pitt scored 42 on this defense in Pittsburgh, and this defense is even more banged up now. This Michigan offense is better than the Pitt offense. There's a reason why the point spread's around 19 points. I think if you're a Penn State fan, I think you're prepared for Saturday. I mean, I can remember 3 years ago in 2013, Bill O'Brien's last game at Penn State. They were 24-point underdogs going into Madison, Wisconsin. And they won the game, and they actually won it pretty comfortably. It was Christian Hackenberg's best game.
Signature game.
Signature game.
The game that created his narrative for the next several years.
I mean, and I remember Bill O'Brien in the press conference afterward, looking at all the beat writers, just like, because we all picked him to get just waxed, and he was like the cat that ate the canary. I just don't think that's the same situation with Michigan. They have too many issues on the defensive side. Offense. I mean, the Michigan offense, I think, has a lot of weapons. So, I mean, I think if you're a Penn State fan, what you want to see is them play aggressively, play hard for 4 quarters, score some points, and don't back away from the challenge. I don't think they're going to win the game. I'm not sure they can keep it close, but you want to see them be aggressive.
I'd say this about the defense. I don't know how bad it's actually been. I think all things considered, it's been pretty good. You know, once they adjusted to Pitt, it was more about just the offense creating turnovers and putting them in a bad spot against Pitt. And you probably say the same thing against Temple. That second half, there was the interception, of course, the fluky punt. And so, you know, you take those away from it, that's not a 7-point game. So for me, I think it's more about the offense playing perfect, not putting them in a tough spot because they're already so thin. Asking them to play a perfect game against Michigan is kind of a far cry to do, but it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, I think one of the more interesting things about this game is Penn State hired Joe Moorhead to be a fast-paced, up-tempo coach. We've seen it work. Trace McSorley, I believe, has more passing yards, I think, than anyone in the Big Ten. They're still trying to gang up on Saquon Barkley, but through 3 games, Penn State's time of possession has been a little bit over 26 minutes. Now, what I would say is, do you really want to play that fast against Michigan with this defense? Because if you give Michigan's offense the ball for 33 minutes, I think you're courting disaster. So what I would expect Joe and James to do this week is maybe just go a little bit slower. They're going to need to keep the ball. They're going to need to be really good on 3rd down. They got to shorten the game. Because Michigan's going to get theirs. And if you give them enough possessions and enough time, they're going to get more points than I think. I mean, if Pitt scored 42, I would expect Michigan to score more. So I would look for Penn State maybe not to be as fast as they've been, and I think they have to play much better on 3rd down.
Franklin talked about that yesterday, making the most of every single possession, because that's how a game becomes a blowout quick, right? You go 3 and out, they score. You go 3 and out, all of a sudden your defense is tired. It just steamrolls, especially against a team as deep as Michigan. You got to wonder, can they play slow when they haven't been able to establish the run consistently? at all so far this season.
Well, maybe not slow is the right word. I think what's happening is Penn State's scoring quickly. And that means they're not converting on third down. If they could kind of just make some third down conversions, that's going to eat up some time as well. They're not. I don't know how many explosive plays they're going to get against Michigan's defense. A defense that's expected to get their All-American cornerback, Jordan Lewis. He'll be matched against Godwin. I think that's a big matchup in the game. But when you talk about the Pitt game, Penn State fell behind 28-7. I remember we talked about it. You thought
it was over. Fire the coach. Yeah, everything's over. The whole regime is done, and then they come back, and I'm kind of on his side now.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they get down 28-7 to this team. There's not going to be any fantastic finish. I just don't think there will be.
I think where you can at least give some hope that there's a possibility of that goes back to that comeback, goes back to Trace McSorley, and just how the identity of this team is so different, which is one of the reasons why I am buying maybe a little bit more Franklin and Penn State stock than I would have been maybe a year ago or 2 years ago, is that the quarterback identity trickling down effect. You compare it to how Christian Hackenberg's teams were. We talked about the Wisconsin game. That's when you bought into him. But then after that, I don't know if it was because he was entitled from that success he had early, the new coaching staff comes in, but there kind of seemed to be a trickle-down effect of it's not necessarily my fault, even though I'm saying it's my fault. And that kind of seemed to go through the whole team where it's why aren't we good? Whereas this year's team is fighting. They got that scrappy approach. It just seems so different to me.
Yeah, well, he did throw for 454 yards in his next game against Central Florida. I do think that as time went on, he just wasn't a great fit for what they were trying to do. I think Trace McSorley, because he's athletic and because he's a guy that the moment doesn't get too big for him. He doesn't flinch when they get down. They were down 24-3 against Georgia. He made a game of it. They were down 28-7 against Pitt. He made a game of it. As long as this guy's healthy, he's gonna come out swinging. And they do have some interesting offensive skill players, I think, that can help him. I think one of the big stories in the first 3 games has been the emergence of Mike Gesicki. You saw that highlight reel catch he made.
Beckham catch.
Yeah, he did. It's funny. You look at Penn State and you look at Michigan, and they both have tight ends that are almost identical physically.
They wear the same numbers. Butt 88 too.
Yeah, they're both about 6'6", 250. But Jake Butt is the guy that's probably going to go high in the NFL draft. And Mike Gesicki's the guy that a lot of people still want him to take that next step. But they're similar type players. The fact that he has gotten off early in the season, I think, bodes well. I think Moorhead's going to have some tricks up his sleeve for the Michigan defense. It remains to be seen, though, whether or not Penn State's offensive line can handle the physical challenge that Michigan's going to present. Colorado got some points early against them, but they also beat that quarterback up.
So it was a 28-24 game until he got hurt.
He paid a price. He paid a price to make plays down the field. Now, I think Michigan's probably going to say, if you want to throw the ball, you can, but we're going to hit your quarterback. I mean, I know that Trace is more mobile, but he's also smaller. So, I mean, one way or another, Penn State's going to be challenged physically more so than in any other game so far this year.
Let's talk about the Michigan quarterback a little bit. New guy for them, Wilton Spate. Sounds like a guy that should be wearing boat shorts, shoes, and khakis. I guess that fits in with the Harbaugh narrative. I was looking at him. He kind of looks like Harbaugh a little bit. You notice that?
I did. He won a spirited QB competition with a transfer from Houston. I think his name is O'Korn or Korn. I believe his first pass was intercepted this year against Hawaii.
Was it the same thing for Rudolph last year? I think it was too against Utah.
And he has thrown 8 touchdown passes since and no more interceptions. It's a good team. They're trying to get a little bit better running the ball, but they have so many weapons in the passing game. In last year's game, all 3 of those receivers, Butt, Jehud Chesson, and Amara Darboh, all had huge days. So I would look for that to continue. And I'm just looking at you look at how Penn State's defense matches up with Michigan. I don't know if Grant Haley's going to play. The safeties both got beat up last week in the Temple game. And all those Michigan guys can run and they're big. It's just not a great matchup if you can't get home and rush that quarterback, and I'm not sure they can do that.
So what should our expectations be for this game? Oh, it looks like the food's here, so I'm going to pause that thought.
Ready?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
That is a plate of nachos right there.
I know.
That's like over 3 tacos.
Yeah, I think he won out. Instead of Taco Tuesday,
It's another version of the taco.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
handheld
That is
food.
all it is.
All right, I'm going to grab you all some extra napkins.
Okay.
Anything else you guys need?
I'm good.
I
I'm
think
good.
that's it, yeah.
All right, cool. I'll be
Thank
right
you.
back with those. No problem.
So how do you plan to attack that nacho
Very
plate?
carefully. Very carefully. And right after this, I'm probably going to go. I might need some. I might need to get some water on the way home because I think I'm going to be pretty thirsty after I don't. I'm not going to finish all of it.
This is
But
fantastic.
It will go down. The food here is terrific.
I think there's a fried pickle in here.
I won't. I would never steer you wrong. Stick with me. It's also a good spot to come at night.
Okay.
Once the sun goes down.
Why's that?
Crowd's good.
Yeah.
Beer selection's good. Dinner menu's a little bit different. So
Well, what I'm trying to figure out is what should our expectation be for this game? Because we keep wanting to talk about the signature win, and it doesn't really feel like it's going to happen this week.
I'm not sure it's gonna happen this year.
But I kind of want to. Here's my ulterior signature win for James Franklin.
Go for it.
I think it's time we give him some credit for picking a quarterback, Trace McSorley, picking the right offensive coordinator, Joe Moorhead, and replacing the offensive line coach and Matt Linegrover, and of course on the defensive side too, promoting Brent Pry, who's done a pretty good job with a thin defense. Those are pretty big decisions for the program and the future of the program that if he didn't get right this year, then we would probably write them off already.
Of course, if you wanted to look at it the other way, it's
Okay,
like why
fair.
did it take him 2 years to figure this out?
Sure.
I mean, they're paying him a lot of money. I think he believed in his Vanderbilt staff. The Moorhead hire, I think, was definitely a linchpin. Herb Hand left on his own. I'm not sure he might still be here had he not gone to Auburn. And you're right about McSorley. I wish they would have settled on him a little bit sooner in the August. But he's definitely a really good fit for what they want to do. And you can tell that what he did in high school has translated to what he did in college. 55-5 as a starter. That's not an accident. And I just feel like, if Penn State can do some things in the kicking game and on defense, maybe not this week or this week, he's going to give them a chance to win the game. I always felt like it's really more about him than it is about Barkley because, believe it or not, defenses can kind of really scheme to limit the damage Barkley can do. He had 5 touchdowns against Pitt, but I think 4 of them were really short rushes,
1 yard
or
rushes,
2 yards,
and the one pass.
He had the long touchdown catch. But a smart defensive coordinator with the right athletes, I think, can really do some things to slow him down. Michigan slowed him down last year. He had a long run on the first carry for 50 yards, and I think he only finished with 65 yards on the ground. So it's really about Trace. It's going to be about Trace. It's going to be about him making the right decisions. It's about him not making mistakes. It's about him extending plays. They do have a guy that I think can make something out of nothing 3 or 4 times in a game, and that's really all you need in most games. Now, this isn't most games, and so if you're looking for an expectation, this sure looks to me like there's going to be a lot of points on the board. And I do think that Penn State can't probably stay with Michigan, but if they could score 28 or get into the 30s, I think it bodes well for this team moving forward because I think the rest of the team knows that with the quarterback and the scheme and the play caller, that they could score enough points to be in most games. So that's what I would look for. I mean, if it's 45-14 with 5 minutes to go in the game, well then I think then you're probably they're going to be in for a pretty rough Big Ten season. But if they can go in to Michigan and still be scoring and still kind of causing some concern for Michigan, I think that's the best case. And they have to play well and not make mistakes.
Yeah, I would just say this to Penn State fans. You watch Penn State games. A lot of Penn State fans probably only do watch Penn State games. You look around the country, I'm just looking at these other games last weekend. Who even likes their coach? It's like Brian Kelly blows it again against Michigan State.
Oklahoma's probably unhappy.
Oklahoma, Ohio State, Florida State blown out by Louisville. So if you look, maybe they get blown out tomorrow, or Saturday, it's it happens. So for me, you just want to see them come out and play well, play some fight, but I don't think this game is the end-all, be-all of anything.
The other thing I would say is, he doesn't like to talk about it. They're 0-6 against Michigan, Michigan State, and Ohio State. They just lost to Pitt. We talked about it. this does matter on the recruiting trail. It really does. And I don't think it's so much. I think if you're a recruit, you don't give Penn State much of a chance in this game. But if they play hard, if they can be explosive on offense, you're giving recruits a reason to come to Penn State. I mean, they want to be in competitive games. They want to be showcased. I'm talking about offensive players. Obviously, if you're a defensive player, you want to come to Penn State because they need all the help they can get.
Start right away.
But I don't think recruits want to be part of a team that just is not going to be able to challenge the top 2 or 3 teams in their division. I think they want to at least see an exciting offense, or they're not going to come.
Yeah, that's fair. Hey, Michigan's got the Jordan label. They got the fun offense. Everyone's talking about them. Somehow Harbaugh, who knew? Marketing expert Jim Harbaugh.
Rashawn Gary and Jabril Peppers are both from New Jersey. That is fertile
right?
Penn State recruiting ground. I mean, everyone's watching, so it's important for them to show well in this game. I mean, I don't give them much of an upset chance, but you could still take a lot of positives away from an effort in which they can kind of score on Michigan in Michigan.
Let's pick the game.
Yep.
I'll try not to pick the same score you pick, but I am going to pick the same score that happened last week against Colorado. I'm going 45-28. I think either way it happens, it's either going to be Penn State's in it early and Michigan pulls away, or it's going to be the flip of that, where Michigan gets up 28-7 and McSorley brings it back, kind of a backdoor cover kind of situation. It just seems like war of attrition over the course of 4th quarters. They aren't going to be able to stay with them, but that physicality, that depth, is just not going to happen this year. And I think that's okay. This isn't the spot. On the road, at the Big House, they've got Iowa at home later this season.
Yep.
They got Ohio State at home later this season. I know Ohio State's national title contender,
They
but
look
I'd
pretty
almost
good.
give them a better chance to win that at home than I would this.
Yeah. I think if Jordan Lewis plays for Michigan, I think it's really going to help their defense. I think Penn State's going to struggle with Jabril Peppers on defense more so than in the return game. I think Blake Gillikin can kind of neutralize what he does because he kicks the ball high. He's been a really good addition to Penn State special teams. But Jabril Peppers as a linebacker is a tough matchup because they can move him around, and Penn State struggled against Pitt at the mesh point with kind of fast athletes kind of blowing up the play before it started. I would look for that. 55-27, Michigan's going to win this game. I was tempted to pick it by a bigger margin, but I do think Penn State will play a spirited game. I do think Moorhead's going to have some answers for Michigan's defense, but I think Michigan matches up really well with Penn State's secondary, and I think that the lack of experience at linebacker, I think Jim Harbaugh and his staff are really going to capitalize on that.
So you like Michigan to cover. I like Penn State to cover by about a point, and I hear you're really big on these Penn State overs.
I'm
59?
all in on the overs. I'm all in on the overs. We've been saying it since the start in the preseason. They're going to be high-scoring games.
Yeah.
The fact that it opened at 58 is rather stunning to me.
Yeah.
What I would say to you is, run, don't walk to your nearest establishment, maybe to get a piece of that. I just think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I don't see it any other way. If Barkley and McSorley stay healthy, they're going to score. I know Michigan's going to score. I'm stunned. Temple and Penn State scored 58.
Yeah.
They scored 58 points, and I don't understand that line at all. Maybe it's a setup, but I just think it's a great opportunity.
There you go, people. Pound the over. All right, let's eat some food.
All right.